Hello, hello, and welcome to yet another episode of Wednesdays with Woody, where we interrupt your vanilla thriller Wednesday to bring you another hot mess up with show.
It's Wednesdays.
Okay. We are keeping up with the consistency this year. I love this for myself. Jeez, I can't believe we are back at it. A new week, a new vibe. I really want to say I am booked and busy and all those words of productivity, but I really, I really don't. Um, I'm enjoying the kind of slow pace I've taken this year, and it's been good for me. It's been good for my mental health more than anything. Yeah. I really do think that we underestimate the importance of mental health and how it influences just about every aspect of our lives, from our emotional state, our relationships, and I don't know, simply down to our ability to handle stressful situations. And I'm sure, as you can gather, that is definitely the crux of what today's episode is going to be dealing with: mental health. The foundation, I think, the foundation of how we think, how we feel and behave. And if our mental health is off balance, well, it can have devastating impacts on how we cope with life's challenges and maintaining meaningful connections while pursuing our everyday goals or just our goals in general. You know what they say, a positive mental state really does help us be more resilient and live with a sense of purpose. It's just absolutely fundamental to our overall well-being. So why are we spending this episode focusing on mental health? I think I spend a lot of time focusing on the G in the LGBTQIA plus, and to my own, I don't know, to my own detriment, or my lack of education in these other aspects of our queer life and queer existence. I really wanted to focus this week on the B, the bisexuals, as it is March and it is Bisexual Health Awareness Month. And I thought that this would be an interesting topic for us to delve into and discuss and just unpack. I mean, there's a lot of information I did not know in the prep work that I do leading up to recording this podcast. So this is going to be a very, I don't know, I might get lost. I might get lost in the sauce. Let's just see how it goes. So, Bisexual Health Awareness Month, often referred to as Bi Health Month, it's kind of a big deal in terms of the bi community, and it really does shine a spotlight on the unique experiences and lived experiences of bisexual people. All those who identify as pan, fluid, queer, or otherwise. Originally, it was launched in March 2014 by the Bisexual Resource Center, which has been around since 1985, advocating for bi visibility. And really, I think that this initiative came about because there was a gap in awareness and action around bisexual health, and they really decided to do something about it. The first campaign was rolled out as a pilot on social media, and the rest is history. But the conversation when we are discussing bisexual people or bisexual individuals isn't just about visibility. It really is about survival. It's about a community that's still fighting to this day to be seen, to be cared for, and to be believed when they say, I exist, I matter, I need real support. And I suppose Bisexual Month or Bi Health Month isn't just about people, I don't know, being bisexual. It's really about what happens when an entire group of people keeps getting left out of the conversation. We talk a lot about LGBTQIA plus issues, and yet people still hear, oh, you don't count. That's why Bi Health Month matters, because it forces the world to reckon with the fact that bisexuality isn't a phase, it's not a confusion, and it sure as hell isn't invisible. And yet, when we talk about bisexuals, I think that we forget that they make up the majority of the queer community. Just a stat, because they always help us just figure things out. 4% of US adults, that's over 9 million people, identify as bisexual. And that's according to the American Psychiatric Association. And yet, I don't know, they experience higher rates of anxiety, depression, and health disparities than both their straight and gay counterparts. Why? Well, because they're constantly battling two fronts: erasure from the straight world and skepticism from the queer one. Imagine the exhausting experience of having to justify your existence to prove you're queer enough while also dodging the world's insistence that you just haven't made up your mind yet. And it's not just a social acceptance issue. Bi people, especially bi women and bi trans folks, yes, they do exist, face staggering rates of intimate partner violence. Bi men are less likely to get tested for HIV because of stigma and misinformation. Bi people of color are dealing with the compounded invisibility, not just in sexuality, but in race and culture. And here's the thing, well, here's where it gets really frustrating. Because of these barriers, bi folks are less likely to seek healthcare, less likely to come out, and less likely to get the support they need. And that's why we need Bi Health Month. Not for rainbow capitalism, not for empty allyship, but because bisexuals are real. They deserve more than just a footnote in the LGBTQIA plus movement. This is about making sure healthcare providers recognize that bisexuality is a legitimate identity with unique health challenges. It's about making sure mental health support systems actually acknowledge bi-specific struggles instead of lumping everyone into the same category. And we really do love lumping people into the same category. It's about making sure bisexuality isn't erased in research, in policy, and in activism. We are really getting into the numbers this week. Wild. But let's get into it because they are shifting fast. So, a recent study found that bisexual identity has doubled in recent years. And from an article that I read, researchers analyzed data from over 75,000 people between 2010 and 2021 and found that bisexual identity rose from 1.6% to 3.1%. Meanwhile, homosexual identity increased only slightly from 1.7% to 2%. And Gen Z, well, they're leading the charge. In 2021, 9.4% of them identified as bi, up from 6.2% in 2014. And by 2023, 15% of Gen Z in the United States identified as bisexual, which was up from 12% in 2020. That's a lot of numbers. Why, you might ask? Well, increased visibility, social acceptance, and growing legal protection. It turns out that when people feel safe, they embrace their identities more openly. Who knew? Who knew? And even with all of these rising numbers, it's still not enough. I mean, a study by Pew Research, and I think the study is a bit old, but let's roll with it. 28% of bi people are out on hiding who they are. And I can only speak from my own lived experience as a gay man. I can only imagine what it must be like to grapple with yourself still existing in the closet, when you want to be out, when you want to be visible, when you want to be accepted for who you are as a human being, and the struggle that you must go through. I mean, on one side, you've got gay people saying those people are confused. You need to pick a side. And on the other hand, you've got gay people straight people who just don't even, they don't even recognize bisexuality. I mean, in a podcast that I recorded early on this year that I never posted, I was going to talk specifically about bisexual men and their own experiences and what I'd found from that research or researching for that podcast. And that there was a lot of stigma around bisexual men, specifically when it came to just having a dating life and how challenging it was for them, having to enter into relationships and not really being able to be who they were or express who they were, simply because, there's a lot of stigma around men who identify as bisexual. A lot of women don't necessarily want to date them because they're afraid that they're going to be left for another man. And that's very different from the experience of a bisexual woman who is, I don't know, women's sexuality is allowed to be more fluid than male sexuality, which is more rigid. And that can be challenging. That can have a real strain on your mental state and your mental capacity. Which is why my health month is absolutely really important. So really, I think that the takeaway from today's episode is that Bi Health Month should not just be a moment. A very invisible moment. I mean, when I'm on I don't say a lot about Bi Health Month, which is a bit weird for me, and I'm grappling with that. I'm really grappling with that. Because this should really be a mission. It's really about a fight for healthcare representation and for dignity, which we all deserve. We all deserve adequate healthcare options available to us. Ooh, nice, short, and simple. Well, that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of this week's episode. I am so grateful that you, I don't know, took the time out of your vanilla thriller. I don't know if that's gonna stick. Your vanilla thriller Wednesday to really listen to Wednesday with Woody, and I hope we learned something. All of us. I mean, I learned something very interesting today. I mean, the number of bisexual people just I don't know. I don't want to say outperforming because that doesn't make any sense. The large mass of bisexual people in comparison to gay people. That was really interesting for me to find out. Something I really don't particularly always think about or find myself, I don't know, considering. But hey, it is what it is. I mean, if there are more bisexual people in the world, there should be more representation of them in many spheres and in many aspects of life. But there isn't, and we really need to work on that. But obviously, I'm getting back into the podcast, and no. We're wrapping up. We're wrapping up, yeah. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for giving me your time and your ears and for just being here. I am wishing you guys a blessed, and I don't know, what should I say? I hope the vibe for the rest of the week is exactly what you need it to be. I hope that there's peace in your life, and I hope that, I don't know, I will catch you next week right here on Wednesdays with Woody, when we will be discussing goodness knows what. But until then, guys, ciao.